Welcome to the Real Estate Ballers Show. In a landscape where deals are harder to come by, and when they do, they have little to no equity. That's why we brought in an expert. Scott Horne is a seasoned real estate investor and an accomplished attorney to explore the world of creative financing. The purpose of this episode is to empower you to recognize the opportunities and therefore close an additional deal every month. That sounds good? Well, then join us to explore the world of creative financing and equip you with the tools to thrive in today's competitive market. But before that, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with insight on real estate investing. Okay, so Mr. Scott Horne, I'm so excited to have you here today. I mean, I've seen your names and heard about you for a while. Can you
Is that like a
give
day,
me,
is that a week, or is that a year, or is that like a century, or what?
I don't want to say century because I give it away. I'm just
Been around the
teasing, but
block is what you're trying to say, right?
you have a lot of wisdom and knowledge. Yes, that's exactly it. Anyway, please do give us a quick introduction if you can.
Well, just for your audience, a little bit about who we are. So, I always open up to say that first off, we are real estate and title attorneys, so that's always the easiest to understand. And in that world, we're very narrowly focused in that we work with real estate investors and realtors, typically to help them close their deals, and specifically in the creative finance world as well. We do some landlord-tenant work for our clients, and we do foreclosures, unfortunately, whenever necessary, to help them along the way. Now, from there, even though we're lawyers, we are really real estate investors. We've had the privilege over the last many years to have bought, financed, and rehabbed some 3,700 single-family homes. We've done a very large volume in that regard. We, as a hard money lender, we've done about 4,000 plus hard money loans. We've built 50 or 60 houses. We've got 3 new ones going up right now here in the DFW area. Used to own a mortgage company. And so today we're heavily invested in the seller finance world. We've closed, I don't know, maybe 10,000 owner finance transactions in our law firm. To give you an idea, and we're vertically integrated today as not just a closer and a title company in that world, both in Texas as well as nationally. We provide loan processing services, loan servicing, and then here in Texas, we've got this new thing called the wrap lending bill we have to navigate around. So we created OFN lending to help the investor world not have to be licensed. And I could probably go on with more, but that's more than enough right there. And all that means, as I tell people, is we have built up a lot of experience in the real estate investment world out there, which hopefully helps us help other investors in their endeavors, whatever it might be that they're doing.
Yes, sir. So let me rephrase this, Scott. What have you not done in the real estate world?
Well, I haven't found out how to win the lottery yet. I guess that's not the real estate world. And, I'm an old commercial guy from the 80s, back from about 84 through 88 or so. Been out of that world for a long, long time. But in the single family residential world, we have done pretty much all the various things that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing I find interesting when you talk to people and you see things out there. Everybody's always trying to throw some new thing out. That, hey, look how we're doing this, or look how we're doing that, whatever it might be, trying to sell it as something new.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything really new in our industry per se, other than maybe repackaging it to make it look a little bit different. That's all it is. They might call it something else with a neat little, cute little name to it. It's really the same thing, but they just want to call it. Anyway, I see things like that happening, but when you've been out in the industry for 30 years doing this, you realize there's not a whole lot of stuff that's new out there. Buying a house, whether it's with cash, with bank financing, a mortgage, or through some type of seller financing, it's been around for the last 30 plus years that I've been doing this business. People come up with new terms, new terminologies, and things like that. But at the end of the day, you know what? It's all the same thing.
That's right. Now, I typically go down a more serious path, but let's have some fun today. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to come up with a fun deal that you have done.
A fun deal?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. A lot of our deals that we do are fun. From a creative finance scenario, buying a property that had a $123,000 first lien on it, that had a $36,000 second lien that was a HUD, a partial claim deed, that means it was a loan modification, zero interest, zero payments. Our seller was $15,000 behind in payments again. The house needed $25,000 of work done to it.
Okay.
And you add it all up in the day, the house was worth $210,000 and they owed about $200,000 total, which means going through a cash scenario doesn't work, right? No one's going to pay $200,000 for a house that needs $25,000 in work, so worth $210,000. But learning how to play the creative finance game, we bought that home, renovated it, sold it in 3 weeks for $240,000, got $24,000 down payment. I'm going to tell you what, this was about a couple of years back. Today, that same house is probably $350,000. We were able to take a house that had zero equity and create, in about 24 months, we created $60,000 of legitimate equity and $1,100 a month positive cash flow. And that is how you play this game, learning how to do it. But again, knowledge is power in our industry, right?
That is a lot of fun. So can you slow play it for me? Just go through those numbers again.
A 123 first lien at 3% interest rate. $36,000 second lien, zero interest, zero payments. $15,000 behind in payments. 3 weeks away from foreclosure. $25,000 of work to get the house to retail ready. And she's stuck. You can't sell that house for cash because a cash investor is going to offer something in the range of $150,000 for a home, but your payoff is almost $200,000. You can't do it. You can't take the house retail because it won't pass appraisal standards. So how do you help a seller in those situations? Learning how to play the creative finance game was very beneficial. That allowed us to stop her foreclosure, boost her credit, take a deal that really had no value and create value by understanding some processes that really work. Now, to play a game like that, though, V, you got to have knowledge first, right? But you also have to have enough cash to close the deal or access to cash through private capital in order that someone who will work with you on a deal like that. And we give.
Do you actually pay off their liens, their first lien and second lien?
Oh, heck no.
Okay.
We take them to we're going to make the monthly payments for them going forward. And that's what generated almost $1,100 a month of positive cash flow for us on that one transaction. And some $65,000 of equity that was created in 24 months out of zero.
So Scott, does this scenario, this type of deal, do you do them only with certain price point, or can you do them with highest price too? And here's why I ask. So I got a lead today, and she owes the first lien was $250, and the second lien was $85, and the house probably worth what she owes.
So a $250 first and a $85 second, right?
Yep.
What's the ARV?
$350 in my opinion, or maybe $370.
House is worth $350. She owes $335, right?
Yep.
So the next question is what is the interest rate?
Oh, well, her first lien got a really low interest rate. It's less than 4%.
Okay. How about
Her
the
second lien, I am not sure.
Let's just call it 6%.
Yep.
This is a guesstimate.
Right.
So, and this property is in what city? Houston or Dallas or where?
It's in not in Houston. It's in near Austin area.
Like Round Rock or
Yes.
Kyle?
Yeah. Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you can take that home that has a 350 ARV value. I'm assuming the house is in really good shape, right?
Yes. From the
Okay.
pictures, it looks fantastic.
Move in ready, right?
Yep. I'm sorry for this interruption. I've been asked a lot about passive investment. And let's be real, there is nothing passive about being a landlord unless you have a really good property management company. So if you own an Airbnb or a short-term rental and you want to get back your time, please give our team at Buzz Vacation Rental a call at 281-549-8432 or go to our website at pm.buzzvacationrentals.com. Now back to the Real Estate Ballers show.
So realizing that, let's just make this easy. Let's say you can take a house that has an ARV of 350. Let's assume we can sell it for 369.9. Just throwing a number out there. So obviously you can sell it for more than what the appraised value is because you're selling financing.
Right.
You're also the mortgage company. You're not charging any mortgage fees, things of that nature. So it becomes a cash flow game. So if
Okay.
you sell a home for 369.9, let's say, let's just say you get 35,000 down. Pull out my little handy dandy calculator here real quick, and you wind up with a $334,000 mortgage on the property between you and your back-end home buyer. I'm just going to run an 8% interest rate, not a 9 or a 10 that you might be able to put on this home. And that generates $2,460 a month of principal and interest income. And so from a decision perspective, as you look at this, you go, if I'm collecting $2,460 a month, how much am I paying out each month?
Right.
So am I paying, and obviously, you made the comment that the first lien was really low, something below 4% on that 250 first. Let's just say it's 3.5% interest rate, and it's got maybe on a standard 30-year mortgage. That's $1,100 a month, principal and interest. And if the second lien of $85,000 had a 6% interest rate on it, when you do the math, you're making $825 a month positive cash flow. Now, if you got a $30,000 down payment or a $35,000 down payment from your buyer, even if you paid out some commissions, you're going to net $20,000 to $23,000 in your pocket. So that gives you a lot of potential cash to carry that loan for 60, 90, 120 days while you're marketing it for sales. Some money to do some minor repairs and cleanup with as you sell it, so that at the end of the day, you may actually put money in your pocket. You might break even, but what you're generating is an $825 a month positive cash flow. And you're generating the difference between $335,000 loan to your seller's $335,000. So you don't really have any equity, but you have a cash flow. And again, I would do a deal like that all day long. That's paying me $825 a month for the next, let's say, 28 years.
There's a reason why we're talking today, right?
Well, it's just learning different ways to look at deals. And there are some investors who like that because it's a cash flow. There are some investors who go, there's no equity. I don't want to do it. I got it. Different investors and different people do things differently. That's okay.
Now, that same example, if the second lien of $85,000 demand payment like to be paid off now, will that still work then?
You have to find a way to pay it off.
Yeah.
Maybe either your own cash or using private capital. But the numbers are still going to work the same, except that now that $800 capital or cash flow you're making, maybe you've got to use that to pay off your second lien holder faster. But, with that big down payment you're going to get from your buyer, if you could apply that down payment to your private lender to repay part of that $85,000, so that now maybe you owe him $55,000 or $65,000. paying him all that extra money, you can pay them off probably very quickly. And so that becomes more of an equity building game than it does a cash flow game. And it may still work very well. It's just that in those based upon the situation you're describing, the investor's got to decide, is he willing just to sit and generate equity and no cash flow or not? And again, every investor is different in that decision process.
Now, at what price point can you not apply this method to?
I think you can apply it at all price points, to be honest with you. I've closed deals in the $1.2 million price range before. And you go, do people really do that? Yeah, they really do that. People in all price points need help. And people in all price points are looking to buy property. And there's a lot of, buyers out there who can easily afford, let's say, $1.2 million home, but they just can't get a new mortgage for some reason. Maybe they have changed jobs recently and they intend to refinance it in a few months or a few years. Or maybe they just, they changed their jobs or whatever it might be. They just can't get that loan today. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. And people, I think that it's a whole wide variety that's out there and that this is all available for.
Yeah, so, I think your creative financing solution fit right in with what we got going on today. We have actually, I noticed in my area is you got a huge amount of people wanting to sell their house, but they only bought it a year or two ago, when the price is really high, and now they have to relocate or for whatever reason, they need to sell that house. And often we find that we can't buy it.
Yeah. Well, we just did 2 deals just like that in Dallas in the last 30 days. Both deals were less than 2 years old on the mortgage. I don't know what was happening with the sellers internally. Was it a transfer or was it they had lost their job or was it a divorce? I don't know the facts that well. But both were the same scenarios. But both deals, the houses were in excellent condition. We were very lucky there. And we were able to find buyers for both that make them both work. There's not a lot of equity in those properties, but there's awesome cash flow. If I can make $800 or $900 a month cash flow on a property and do that once a month for a year, oh my gosh, that's $10,000, $11,000 a month of cash flow you generate after 12 months.
Hey, I'll take that all day long.
Well, we all would take that all day long, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
But obviously you got to find the deals, you got to know how to work them and negotiate them. And every one of those deals is different too. Sometimes you may have some equity, sometimes the seller wants equity. Sometimes you may need some cash to maybe you got to pay realtor fees, or maybe you have to pay a wholesale fee, or maybe you have to pay the seller some walkaway money or something. But when you realize that a down payment that you'll get in the near future can help you reimburse those monies, or with that large cash flow you're getting, you're able to pay back that private source of funds quickly. It becomes a great opportunity, and it's just learning how to look at deals through a different lens is all it is.
Okay, so with you being involved in so many different facets of the real estate world, what kind of challenge or challenges do you see that investors are faced with today that they may not have been faced with, early on?
Oh gosh, you go back, 12 months ago, 18 months ago, right? And everything was rocking and rolling. Nothing's ever going to stop. And all of a sudden, everything changes, right? Especially in the financial world. And bank rates went up from 5% to 9%. And that makes a huge difference in how you can buy a home for cash. It used to be that if you could buy a house, let's say it had an ARV of $100,000, you could buy that house for $80,000, and financially you could make it work. But apples to apples today, you got to buy that same house between $68,000 and $70,000, just to break even.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are out there. So you see that change in the economy. That means for people who are buying homes for cash or trying to wholesale them, prices have to come down. Now, we're still in this unique little bubble in Texas, probably in Florida too, a few other states. We still have an influx of people coming to the States. They're flocking out of California or Jersey or New York or someplace, and they're coming here. And so we still get this artificially high demand that normally is not out there. But one of the things I keep trying to teach to the investor world out there is although you may find some transactions that will sell in 2 or 3 or 4 days, but I think you have to start pushing your time frames out and anticipating a 90-day hold, maybe even a 180-day hold, which is more normal in the real estate community for selling a home. And so, you have to focus on those dynamics differently. And if you're in the wholesale world, let's say, it's going to be a little more difficult to sell your homes, and your profits are going to start shrinking. The times that we had in the past, couple, 2 or 3 years have pretty much gone away. You can still make money and you can still do well, but it is slowing down naturally. And eventually when the supply and demand, catch up with each other, things are going to get back to normal with normal sales and time frames on properties, I think. And it's just what we've seen historically in the past. But there are so many young investors who have gotten into business recently. They have not experienced those times. All they've seen is, this constant upward spiral of everything working just amazing. And all of a sudden, the brakes get put on and they're trying to figure out, what do I do? And you've got to learn how to adapt.
Okay, so with these challenges, what kind of impact are you seeing with, investors? I know you touched on a little bit, but maybe go a little deeper for us. I know the same house that we were able to pay 80 for, now we got to go down to 60 and 68, 70. That ought to made it harder to buy. Hey, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.
It is much harder until the marketplace adjusts. Either you have to work harder to find the better deal, B, you got to change your strategies a little bit. So maybe instead of being into a buy and hold mechanism, which we do mostly of, maybe you go into a buy, fix, and sell mechanism a little bit. Or maybe you turn your focus from looking for deals you pay cash for to looking into the creative finance world more. So I've seen, from my offices, I've seen us adjust a little bit into those formats.
Are you noticing any trend out there right now that signal trouble on the horizon?
Oh, Lord, yeah. I think we all know that foreclosures are picking up.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more people that will be very problematic, like it was back in 2008, 9, 10, and 11, that are needing more and more help right now. And, eventually they've got to find a way to get out of their homes, and they may not be able to sell it for cash. It may wind up having to be some type of creative finance mechanism to do that. A friend of ours, Eddie Speed, I'm going to quote him on some numbers he had thrown out probably 4, 5, 6 months ago, were that in the Texas marketplace, 8.8% of the population is in active default. 30% on top of that are in some form of forbearance. And so if you've got 40% of the population in some form of a forbearance default, that should scare the holy heck out of all of us. And what that means, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we're going to have a similar time like we did back in 08, 9, 10, 11 when the crash hit. But I think it is indicative that there's going to be a lot more opportunity out there in the creative finance world. Just like you said earlier, you've seen some deals coming across your table where there may be limited equity in the deals because people bought the home a year or two ago. They've got to get out for some reason. I think learning how to play the game, how to adjust to the game a little bit becomes, very helpful. But I just think there's going to be a lot more of that out there with what you see on the horizon and on foreclosures. And I'll still tell you, when you go down to the auctions and you watch the foreclosures, I'm still seeing a lot of investors pay what we call stupid money for houses.
Yeah.
It's just overpriced. And maybe they're still finding a place to put money they're trying to pull out of the market or someplace else. I don't know. But they're trying to reallocate funds somewhere. Because otherwise, I don't know why they're paying that much money for homes. Because it used to be a lot of investors would buy a house on January the 1st, and within 6 months, it may have increased 10, 15, 20% in value.
Right.
But I think that dynamic has stopped, though.
Yep.
So I'm not sure why they're paying that kind of money. Sometimes you ask yourself, is it foreign money coming into play? Like, is it Chinese money or Asian of some format? I don't know. Is it cartel money out of Mexico? And it could be any of those kind of things, where they're just trying to find a place to put their money, and they don't mind paying full price for something.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Well, I got to call my source from the Asian money.
Well,
That was a joke, by the way.
Answer, but to see if that's out there or not.
What I'm hearing is, you talk about this, the active default and the forbearance. What I'm hearing is banks are much more willingly to work with the borrowers this time around versus years ago, right? And secondly, more people have equity in their properties versus like back then, they didn't have equity.
Swing of things, there has been some equity, creation where property owners didn't have that in the past, right? But when you look at banks doing forbearances or banks doing short sales, etc., I'm not seeing that much of it. I'm seeing it actually slow down a little bit, and I don't know what that means. It used to be there's a short sale around every corner, but you don't see that so much anymore.
Yeah.
And, you aren't seeing or hearing as many loan modifications as we used to do. And I think that's slowing down a little bit. And again, I don't know what the end game is in all of that. And, I wish I had my crystal ball, but it's still in the shop. So I'm kind of just shooting from the hip, looking at things. But one thing that the last crash taught me was, as we're moving forward, is how to be a little bit more conservative also, and to keep my eye out a little bit more and anticipate things to happen, and it always being so optimistic like we used to be in this business. Sometimes when you hear these things, where there's smoke, there's probably fire, and just be a little bit more cautious, be a little more wise in those decisions.
All right, so let's shift gear a little bit. Let's say I'm new and I'm being cautious, listening to your advice. I want to learn more about creative financing. It's just like the example I gave you earlier. Obviously, this won't be something that a brand new investor who hasn't done a deal can go in and just try to do creative financing, or am I wrong on that? And secondly, if I want to learn it to do it the right way, how do I go about it?
In the investment world, you've got to learn how to do it the right way. And, time and actually doing deals is your best teacher, obviously. Gathering information. Now, I think every investor, though, that you have to get enough information to know where to start and how to do things. In other words, you can't just arbitrarily go out and start doing a creative finance deal if you have no idea what you're talking about or things of that nature. And so you need to that new investor needs to gain a modicum of knowledge to first off understand, how do you go from A to B to C to D on down the road? What does that look like? You need to learn how to talk the game. You need to learn what to ask for. And there's lots of places out there and people who help, teach this industry the right way. We've got a website that's called the ownerfinancenetwork.com. And it's a training site, has lots of free videos where we really want investors to learn how to do this business the right way, because if you don't do things the right way, you mess it up. It may be problematic for all of us investors because it could cause a change in our laws and things of that nature along the way. And so the investor needs to learn how to talk the game. If you're brand new You need to understand what a mortgage is. How does it work? Whether it's a loan from a bank, a loan from a mortgage company, or a private lender. How does the title industry work? What is the title company? Do I have to go to a title company? What are my other options for closing a transaction? And you just never know those things. You have to learn that if I buy a property from a creative scenario, what are my risks? What are the seller's risks? What are the disclosures I need in order to protect the seller, myself as a buyer along the way? What's my closing process? And if you're brand new and you don't know anything, you've got to go out and start learning. Now, at some point, if you've got a knowledge base, a knowledge of how to research properties, how to make informed decisions, it's time to go out and pull the trigger, right? And that is where so many investors fail, is they are scared to pull the trigger. They're risk averse. All they want to do is sit, gather information, and they'll never do anything.
Yeah.
They can't do that. And in business, you've got to learn to go out there and be willing to put it out and do it. Now, you can't just be completely ignorant and just do it, because you might lose money. But you know what? Sometimes in business and sometimes in investments, you lose money. Look at putting money in the daggum stock market, right?
Right.
It does one of these and you have no control of it at all.
Right.
And so if you're going to lose money in the stock market, at least try the real estate side a little bit. You might lose a little bit, but you're not going to lose everything. But learn the game and get out and do it. And that's what you want investors to do, especially the newer investors. But you can't just go out cold turkey and do anything. I don't care whether you're going to be a wholesaler, a fix and flipper, a renter, a landlord, whatever it might be. You have to gain the knowledge of how to make things work like anything else. Too many of us put money into mutual funds. And I'll bet you 99.999% of people have no idea how that works. They just let somebody else invest their money and lose it for them along the way.
Yep.
So if you at least learn our business, you don't have to be an expert at it. You become an expert over time. But you got to get out and start doing it. And that's what you want people to learn how to do. What does my bank look for? What's a financial statement? If I want to go borrow money from a bank, what do I need besides 20 or 25% down payment? If I'm buying a house and it needs work, who's going to do the work for me? How do I find a contractor? What are my resources that I need to look for? And I think you've got to get a lot of these ideas under your belt, and it's going to the right resources and gathering information from various places and treating it almost like school, where you're learning things. It's like a job, it's like a career. You have to learn how to work within the scope of that career. And real estate investing is kind of just like that. There's lots of moving parts, and you've got to have a working knowledge of all of them. But you don't need to be an expert in any of them. You become that expert by pulling that trigger and doing that first deal. Or maybe you find the right people to partner up with, that you can actually bring something to the table to help them, or a willingness to do things. We see a lot of people in our business, my partner Susan and I do, who they want to partner with us, but they're not willing to bring anything to the table. They might have a lead on a property, great, but they don't know how to do anything else. They can't close it. They don't know how to rehab it. They have no resources. They want us to do everything else for them. But you find me someone who's willing to put the time and effort into a deal to make things happen, okay, different ballgame. And you find that out there. But, don't go out and milk somebody dry for information, which is what a lot of people try to do. You need to make it bilateral, so it's a win-win for everybody. And when you do that, you can get some decent deals out there.
So you're a very busy person. If someone in the audience listening and they want to partner up with you, is there an opportunity for that?
It's going to depend on the deal and where it's located. It's going to depend on what they can bring to the table, besides maybe a lead on a piece of property.
Yeah.
Do they have any financial resources? Do they have some level of expertise whether it's in marketing or construction, or what can they do? So every deal is a little bit different, and we try to keep an open mind and look at transactions along the way and to see what they're like. And you never know when something's going to happen. So we don't ever say no. We just say maybe.
I hear you. I mean, because, you also got people who don't know what a deal look like, right?
Okay.
And they contact you, and yeah. Well, for someone who's so busy like you, that's just burning the oil.
For instance, I was looking at one the other day, and they bring this deal to me, and on the surface it looks okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad, and it was probably worth doing. But I said, I need the mortgage statement. I don't want this electronic print off. I need to see the actual mortgage statement. And I get it, and oops, they're $13,000 behind in escrow. And I'm going, why are they 13 behind in escrow? And it wound up being a new construction home where the mortgage company screwed up and didn't charge enough escrow as it went from lot value to new house value. And so over the course of time, the buyer, they did the right thing by making their payments, but the mortgage company never adjusted the payments appropriately. And so here's this big number, of $13,000. And it's like, guys, that's a real liability that's out there. This isn't something that just floats around out here in the netherworld. If we want to pay this house off, or maybe we do a back-end wraparound loan to a buyer or something, and they want to pay it off, we have to pay off that money. And even though we're making payments to pay it off rapidly right now, it's a liability. So we had to go back in and adjust, the whole terms of the transaction because of that. But the seller didn't remember it, didn't recognize it. Other people just missed it. And you've got to be able to look at those kind of things to make proper adjustments along the way.
All right, so you're leading me down this path here. I'm sure you've seen a lot of them, but let's narrow it down to probably the top 1, 2, or 3 mistakes that someone attempt to do creative financing make that can cause them to lose big.
Well, I think one of the first ones is a lack of knowledge and not understanding what they need to gather up front at first, and not knowing what it is they're looking for. Access to good information is so important. You have to, so often our industry, especially in the wholesale world, wholesalers push the numbers, to 100%, 105%, 110% of value or more, right?
Yep.
They push. Well, at the same time, what are they reducing? They're reducing the actual cost of repairs.
Right.
You find these houses that have substantial repairs, you better either know what you're talking about, what to look for, or you better have someone to work with who knows what they're looking for, a very good contractor, good partner, somebody. Because if you don't know those kind of things, you are going to lose your shirt. If you think a house is worth $350,000, but you're using numbers from a year ago and not looking at numbers, let's say, in the last 90 days, you may very well find out that 350 house today is only worth 325, but you just bought it using numbers at 350, and now you may have some problems. So, I think access to good information is so important to evaluate the property. Learning how to evaluate information you can find online at like the county clerk's websites, how to recognize various liens and issues that may affect the property are so important along the way. And those help you learn to negotiate a deal even better oftentimes. We find so often that sellers who may have done a loan mod 2 years ago, 4 years ago, who knows how long ago, because they're making no payments on it, they've forgotten about it. It's out of sight, out of mind, right? And so learning how to research things, to know what is out there, helps you do better. How to recognize lien issues and how they may or may not affect your property are important. Maybe it's a profit center for you. Maybe it's something you've got to adjust as you're negotiating it. And sometimes when you learn all these things, you have to learn how to walk away from the deal because it's just not a good deal for a lot of reasons. And you have to learn how to look at, as I said earlier, construction issues. One of the big things, and I've talked to so many wholesalers in the last 30 days, probably 6 or 8 wholesalers, about learning how to look at sewer lines in older homes. They don't realize that cast iron sewer lines have a life of about 50 years. And if you're buying a house that was built, let's say 1970 or before, the odds are you have a cast iron sewer line and it's bad. And if it's not bad, it's going bad quickly. Well, that could cost you real fast, $10, $15, $20,000.
Now, Scott, this is different than galvanized?
Well, cast iron and galvanized. Well, galvanized are the pipes in the walls usually, or under the house. This is your actual sewer line.
Okay, gotcha.
It started out from what I've learned, that you go back to the 40s and early 50s, they actually had tar paper sewer lines. I've only seen that twice ever. Tar paper.
Tar paper,
Just like you put on your roof or on the side of the wall of your house. Then it went to clay, meaning that terracotta clay tile, which tree roots would go right through in a heartbeat. Then it went to cast iron.
Okay.
And then after about the early to mid 70s, it went over to PVC.
Okay.
And little things like, and this just happened to be on a house that I bought, so I know this business really well. And in the front yard, we see 2 PVC cleanouts. So we're going, great. And the house was built in the 70s. We're going, the whole thing has PVC. Well, guess what? It was PVC from the street to the house, but under the house was cast iron. And guess what was bad? Under the house. So we had to reroute the sewer line around the house and tie it back in. And that cost, another $8,000 that you weren't expecting or anticipating. Luckily, we had the room and the ability to do it. I talk to these young wholesalers because they don't understand this. They just do an estimate. They don't know how to properly estimate repairs. They use, we're just going to use $1 per square foot as an estimate. I saw a house the other day using their formula. They were about $26,000 on rehab. When we got through looking at the house, it was a $60,000 rehab. And so either they're going to tell a unknowing buyer these kind of things, and that buyer's going to find out that they're, $36,000 upside down on repairs to get the house fixed properly, or they're not going to be able to sell that house and make any money on it. And so I just think that for the novice investor, access to information to evaluate homes, knowledge of the things we just talked about are so important. But then, it's also, you've got to have access to capital. I do a seminar that's called about money all the time. And I'm going to ask you this question, Naveen, see if you have the answer. What are the 3 most important things in real estate? And this is a trick question, okay?
Okay. Do I get multiple choices?
No. What's the most common answer, do you know?
In real estate, okay. The deal maker?
Nope. Location.
Oh, okay.
What's number 2? Location.
Market?
Nope. Location. What's number 3?
Uh-oh. And location.
So that's a common answer in the marketplace. And my answer to it is this. It's money, money, and money. Because if you don't have access to money, it's the availability of it. If you find that great deal you want to buy, you're not able to buy it, right? Unless you have your own capital. It's about the cost of the money and how it affects the transaction for you. And it's about learning how to save money as well. And you've got to learn all 3 of those in order to be successful in this business. Because you can find great real estate all the time, but if you don't have the funds to buy it, you ain't buying that real estate. And so learning how to use money, how to find it, how to apply it, I think is so important too. So I think those are some of the things that, newer investors need to learn and to get into it. And I'll go one step further. And I often say that real estate investors, their thought process stops right at the end of their nose. They go out and they hunt the deal, they do all this great stuff, and they're ready to buy it. but they haven't thought downstream, once I buy it, what am I going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't built into the equation things like, well, what if my first option doesn't work?
Yeah.
Maybe I want to do a fix and flip.
Yeah.
But what if it's not selling for some reason? What if while I'm in the middle of my fix and flip, the marketplace changes on me? Or this happens or that? And by the way, that's real life, and those things really do happen. What's my secondary option?
Mm-hmm.
What if I borrow hard money or short-term private capital of some type, and I've got a 6-month window on it, but now the market changed, I'm not able to sell it to cash out.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have the ability to refinance it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So you have to think, here in this business, you can't just have blinders on and be thinking unilaterally on one course of action. You got to go, what if this happens? What are my other options? And be prepared to handle that. Because if you don't do it, unfortunately, bad things can happen. We don't want that to happen out there.
Right. I say it differently. You got to have multiple exit strategies,
Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah. Because in today's world, one is not going to work anymore.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. So as we are wrapping up here, Scott, what is any other word of wisdom that you can share with the audience?
I will say this. I have found over the course of my career, finding the right people to partner with have been so important from a business perspective. Sometimes, you may think you can do it all. Yeah, no. We all need help. We all have strengths and strong suits and weak suits. Whenever you can find a mechanism that blends those things together, it helps you. And you can do more together oftentimes than you can do apart. I think that's a wise thing to do, and finding people that can help you grow and build together is important. So once you do that, I think getting, as I said earlier, learning how to find good information, not just something online somewhere, but quality information that helps you build and grow in your business, helps you learn things the right way, will help you go down the path. And then it's just be wise. Watch the marketplace, see what's going on. Know what's out there. If you're going to buy a house for cash, know what your options are. If you're going to buy a house for terms, great. Know what your options are. And as you said, multiple exit strategy, of course, is such an important facet of our business. But if you're brand new to it, you don't know what those are. But you've got to dive into this stuff and start learning. And it takes time.
I just remember in my early days, I bought a house and I couldn't sell. So I ended up owner financing it because that was the viable strategy available. And then I got disappointed because they pay off the note too soon.
You don't like it when our borrowers pay off a property because now you got to go out and find another property to replace it with, or you got to find a place to reinvest that capital and things of that nature along the way. Otherwise, you run out of everything.
That's right.
I love the creative finance business, because and it's really the long-term hold business, whether it's a rental property or a owner finance property. Because if you're in the fix and flip game, if you're in the wholesale game, it's a hamster wheel.
Yep.
You're always on the hamster wheel. It's always a job you can never get off. Learning how to create that long-term, reoccurring, positive cash flow that you've already created is truly where we all want to get to. And the problem is so many people in our industry teach new investors that you get rich quick, right?
Yep.
Overnight. And in reality, it's one of these over time.
Yep.
And it's learning to have patience. It's learning to have perseverance along the way, and realize if you keep after it, if you keep going, you'll learn to do things the right way. You implement strategies, get rid of that fear factor. This business does really work.
Okay, so this is the last questions I asked. How does the audience get in touch with you? Because I'm sure they have, learned a lot here today, and they probably want to learn more.
Well, obviously, we do a lot of things. So the first one, if they need to work with a law firm or a title company. Our law firm is Horne and Associates PC. That's Horne. And the website is hornerealestatelaw.com. Our title company today is First Option Title. We're a direct operation, went into business as that in December, which is awesome. And again, we close transactions with and without title insurance, cash, creative finance deals all over Texas and nationally as well. And we can provide title and closing services wherever you might be. And our title company is firstoptiontitle.com. And that is a 1ST is what it is.
Okay.
So First Option Title.
Okay.
If they're interested in the creative finance world, they can check us out at theownerfinancenetwork.com, which is our vertically integrated site for legal and title closings, loan processing, loan servicing, and our new wraparound lending services, vertically integrated to be a one-stop shop for that industry. Buku free videos online for anybody that wants to check it out. If you're needing to look at hard money, we used to be Texas's largest hard money lender back from 97 to 09. We're back in the game today under a company called GOAT, G-O-A-T, Funding. And our website is goatfunding.com. And I think you'll find that we're a very knowledgeable and very easy to work with hard money lender that's very different than most of the guys in the industry out there. And of course, when they go to any one of those sites, they're going to see all of our information on all of our sites we have out there. And we love to help anyone in the community, be more successful in what they do.
Well, thank you for watching. I hope you'll be closing more deals. And if you do, go ahead and share them with us in the comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with more amazing stories and insight on real estate investing. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.